The Sustainability Impact Award is awarded for the initiative that best translates environmental, social, and governance policy and objectives to improve process, product, and service outcomes for existing and future stakeholders. The UN World Commission on Environment and Development defines sustainability as meeting our needs without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs in terms of natural, social, and economic resources. Bachy Soletanche won the Sustainability Impact category at the International Quality Awards 2023. The organisation is one of the UK's leading geotechnical specialists with a reputation for quality and innovation within the field of foundation and underground engineering. Susanna Clark, head judge of the Sustainability Impact Awards, said, "Your approach of testing on site with both original equipment and new options to ensure they can achieve the right results shows you also understand the practice of PDSA and a quality approach to your work." For the application to the Sustainability Impact Award, Bachy Soletanche focused on these 3 sustainable development goals: climate action, responsible consumption and production, and life on land. What sets them apart? Using their EFFC calculator, not only to monitor progress, but also to provide a calculation of the environmental benefits when proposing a design that has a greener alternative.
We monitor our progress throughout that process. So at the beginning, we use something called the EFFC calculator, set our stall out there and say, this is what we expect to emit in terms of carbon, and then we monitor it throughout the project.
Annual Sustainability Action Plan.
We're on a bit of a journey at the moment. As I guess all businesses are, we're in trying to get through a sort of sustainable transition. Annually, we create an action plan. We also had a carbon management plan, which set out sort of roles and responsibilities, how we were going to monitor, where the pitfalls were, where the positives were, and the negatives on the project. The action plan used on site with the operations team to say, where are we with the individual actions within that have been set out in the carbon plan.
Environmental champions.
We've got a great team now, environmental champions, which represent each department across the business, and they are engaged in our action plan development and promotion and driving it day in, day out throughout the business.
Collaboration and engagement with clients and suppliers.
We put a lot of emphasis on collaboration and engagement with both clients and our suppliers to sort of say, right, we've got this job on, we need to reduce the carbon impact on it or improve our sustainability. What can we do together to collaborate to drive the initiatives forward?
Self-assessment against the requirements of sustainable standards.
We've looked at ourselves internally and we've made a self-assessment of our procurement process against the 20,400 guidance. So we've taken away some ideas and information from that standard and tried to look at what are the most important partners in our supply chain, both in terms of material suppliers and a hired plant, in terms of the bits of equipment that we use which emit or generate waste. And now what we're doing is with those supply chain partners, as Steph has said, we're trying to develop new innovations in terms of equipment or changing the way that processes are undertaken, but also look at feeding back into those suppliers when we've learned something from a project and further improvements can be made.
Systematically include an environmental chapter in all their offers.
With the environmental champions and the sustainability group within the business, that's effectively mandated upon each project. So when we're setting up at the beginning of the job, both a tendering phase and when we get onto a project site, the team's encouraged to cost in during the bidding phase, potentially more expensive equipment that's actually more environmentally friendly.
Meeting with key suppliers to ensure alignment with sustainability requirements.
When we get to the project delivery phase, the procurement team are actively with the supply chain working to ensure that the team on site get delivered the electrically powered equipment or the low energy solutions for site setups.
Trials and research on using electric drum and pump.
We're in the process of trying to develop an electrically powered concrete pump and drum for our piling operations on site. We're the first UK business to go and speak to the market about the ability to do that. We've been making some trials in the last couple of months with something called the Entertainer, which is a product that will provide electrical power.
Trials and research on using low carbon steel, concretes and grouts.
We're also working with some of our other suppliers on the material side, so low carbon concrete. We're doing some extensive research into the various different options and trying to further the industry's ability to use these. The biggest challenge there is obviously in permanent works at the moment. The standards make that a little difficult because of the kind of length of knowledge of using such materials. And we're also pushing to bring in low carbon steel into the UK market as well, and that's something that's probably going to gather some speed in the next couple of years.
reporting at two levels, micro project level and macro group level.
We realized as a business that to see if our initiatives were working, if we're having a true effect, we needed true and accurate data. We first get the figures from the carbon calculator, then the team collaboratively work, so the design team, the operations team, procurement team, look at the figures that we've got, and then we build in how we can make savings. So we do an alternative figures as well. We then talk to the project team, who then break down these figures as per the program, week by week. Then we take the figures and we put it into our database to get the baseline. So this is how we forecast the carbon emissions throughout the duration of the project. And then we analyze the actual versus the forecasted. So we can see where we stand. We have made a significant progress in our carbon footprint. So it's halved. It's not necessarily because the turnover's gone down, because we also look at intensity ratio, our carbon per unit of turnover. So that figure is also halved, which is in reflection to our actual carbon figure. Then at the bottom for 2018 and 20, we break it down even more.
Peter Anderson, judge of the Sustainability Impact Awards, said, whilst recognising they were on a journey, Bachy Soletanche demonstrated impressive and impactful changes in carbon and energy usage with live data monitoring on their projects. Examples of innovative carbon-efficient plant and equipment. Cage tamp.
We install circular reinforcement cages into concrete piles into the ground to support buildings. Sometimes these cages need a little persuasion to sink into the liquid concrete. And historically, that was done either by pushing them down or whacking them with an excavator bucket, or placing a diesel-powered vibro hammer onto it to vibrate the unit down into the concrete. What we developed as a business was effectively one large heavy weight, the cage tamp, which weighs about 3.5 tons. And that basically is a static lump, just sits on top of the cage and provides additional force to insert. So that's eliminated the need for any powered source to assist that cage installation.
Electric crane.
We have two mains powered crawler cranes servicing sheet pile operations right at this moment.
Solar powered welfare and site office units.
We've been working with the supply chain to look at solar powered options for sites where there isn't, shading from tall buildings and we're out in an open area.
Hybrid generator.
For locations where, for example, we need to maintain the drying rooms running overnight, the hush pod system is effectively like a big rechargeable battery. So we've got a generator or a mains power source running during the day. The hush pod is charged up during the day, and then it's like a trickle charge release during the night shift. So we're reducing noise, we're reducing emissions by cutting out the need to operate a generator to run cabins and buildings during the night.
Electric rig.
We were the first UK business in the piling market to trial the electrically powered rig, and it's doing the rounds amongst all of our peers in the piling industry at the moment. So one of our competitors has it down in the London area now. We were heavily involved with the development of the rig by the manufacturer, in particular the management of the cables, obviously across the site. There's some high voltage running through those for the safety of the operation of that. So that big blue arm on the back effectively rotates independently of the machine so that the cable can be kept free of the tracks.
Eco tower lights.
The ancillary bits of equipment that we use, so tower lights, there's a number of different options we have with our supply chain there through solar powered, hydrogen powered and battery powered units that we bring in again to reduce the noise and the environmental pollution impact.
Bi-energy mobile elevating work platforms.
There are bi-energy mutes that we're also using on some of our sites.
Joe Dowdle, judge of the Sustainability Impact Awards, said, "It is clear that the organisation has the desire and potential to extend positive environmental impacts and minimise negative impacts at industry level and beyond." What's next for Bachy Soletanche?
Our next steps are to submit our plan to the Science Based Targets Initiative. We're already signatories to that, and to start looking at adopting the PAS 2080 framework. This is really, really good framework for our industry in that it enables us to look at quality and low carbon ground engineering on a consistent basis from project to project. It also allows a collaboration between architects, designers, constructors, all the way through to end of life. So it's got a life cycle approach, and it aligns really well with our EFFC calculator, because what we're trying to do is to sort of say to the client, this is where the carbon of your project sits. If you do X, Y, and Z, we can reduce that carbon and effectively reduce the life cycle carbon of your project. So, and the driver behind this is collaboration. And that's, for our business, collaboration is everything between suppliers, designers, business, and the clients.
Peter Anderson, judge of the Sustainability Impact Awards, said, "The sustainability drive is at the heart of their business. The testing innovative solution for the use of concrete and steel materials in their field were groundbreaking."
To have won the award, it's a great recognition of what we do.
It's reassuring that we are making an impact.
Really, it's about pushing on to the next step and really growing some of our innovative processes to continue the environmental performance improvements within the business, and also to reward those that have been part of the journey so far.